Okay, primary is now officially here. Well, kind of officially. I don't know whether, does it start Monday? Whatever. Iowa caucuses are Monday. Let's talk to Sean about that. He knows way more about this than me and, well, pretty much everybody. Sean Spicer of the amazing Sean Spicer Show, which you should be watching every night, 7 p.m. right here on the First TV. Okay, Sean, Iowa caucuses are here. Iowa caucuses are a very, very different bird. For people who are not in Iowa and don't understand, how's this work, Sean? Do people just go up and punch a little ticket and go vote in the primary on Monday? Is that what the caucuses are?
Well, good to see you. It's a little colder than it is for a lot of us in Iowa. They're saying it's going to be like -4. But for Iowa, that's like a warm day, I think. So, look, the Republicans and different caucus a little different. But to your point, it's not a primary. You can't cast your ballot early. You go at a specific time. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, which will be a federal holiday in Iowa. It's a little odd to be voting on a Monday for most people. But they'll go and then they make their preference known and they can leave. It takes a little bit more time. And it's obviously a little bit more appointment than it is just on a normal primary day, say in New Hampshire or South Carolina, where you can cast your ballot, from like 6 or 7 in the morning till 6 or 7 at night. You walk in, you walk out. This takes a little bit more coordination, which is why for not just the Trump campaign, but for the DeSantis campaign in particular, it's a real test of organization. Not just can you get someone to say they're going to support you or to answer yes in a poll, but they got to be willing to go, drive to that VFW, the community center, the government hall at 7 o'clock Monday night and make their preference known.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then, Sean. Every candidate, no matter who they are, even Joe Biden, every candidate has a certain percentage of their supporters who will crawl naked across the mile of broken glass to vote for them. And every candidate has some wishy-washy supporters. That's just the nature of politics. I know Trump has a hardcore base. Does DeSantis?
That's a great question. I don't know that he's got a hardcore. He definitely doesn't have the base like Trump does. But the question, so that's a great question. With respect to the Iowa caucus, the question I think what is more germane is, have they identified 40 to 60,000 people that are willing to show up for him at 7 o'clock? Now, the thing that's important to understand that is so different, not just about Iowa, but about DeSantis and what's going to happen on Monday, is that the campaign normally runs the ground game, identifying the key voters, following up with them, chasing them, making sure that, do you have a ride? Are you definitely going to show up? Do you have a plan? Blah, 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 blah. In the case of DeSantis, they outsourced this to the super PAC Never Back Down because they were able to transfer upwards of $80 million from a state campaign that it doesn't abide by federal limits. So it's a bit wonky to understand, but there's a reason they did it. It was the only way that legally they could transfer $80 million that the governor had in this state account in Florida and be able to use it. So they transferred it all over. Now, what you do when you do that is you give it to your PAC, your super PAC, and say, here's what we want you to do. But you can't coordinate any of that. So you're hoping that they know what they're doing and they do it well. But the reason I bring this all up, Jesse, I mean, they've probably put $50 million on the ground. You could have bought everyone in Iowa a John Deere or a Ford F-150 for what they're spending. And that's why I say all that to answer your question, because in President Trump's case, it's real. These are people who will, to your example, who will crawl through a bed of nails on fire to get there. In DeSantis's case, it has been methodical. It's data-driven. It's just identifying X person who lives in Cedar Rapids and saying, okay, we know that they say they're going to show up. Now let's track them. Let's follow them. Let's persuade them. Let's get them to get out there and go. It's two different models, and we're going to find out who wins. But if you can get 60 to 65,000 people to show up, they expect the universe to be about 200,000. It had been in the 180s before. You win. Now, so this is going to be a really interesting, as far as I'm concerned, because the big question Monday night is, did Trump win by more than 20 points? No one in the history of the caucuses has ever had 50%. No one. And no one's had the lead that Trump's have. If the lead comes down to 10-ish points, I think the mainstream media is going to say that Trump lost a lot of support. If he blows this thing out 15, 20 points, DeSantis is done. It's good night. I hope you like hanging out in Iowa, or you've got some plans for the weekend, because you're done. DeSantis, after blowing that kind of cash and going all in Iowa, can't say that I got my butt kicked by 20 points and I'm going to play on.
Okay, it sounds like you're anticipating a Trump win no matter what. So you're not anticipating, because I can hear all the DeSantis fans groaning right now. Doesn't seem like you think he has a chance.
Well, no. Okay, so here's what I'll tell you. I believe that based on everything that I've seen, Trump is going to win by plus 20. They have an unbelievable. I was there in 2015. I've been out to Iowa in the last few months. Everybody will tell you that his effort on the ground is much more data-driven. It is much more focused. It is much more professional. Now, DeSantis has a great team as well. But there's nothing that I've seen in the public polling. And as much as I have major problems with public polling, but I will tell you that it's good for trends. It doesn't tell you necessarily and there's nothing trend-wise that suggests that DeSantis is on the ascent. Therefore, I will tell you this. If Trump wins by more than 20 or more, it's over. You cannot. I talked to Ron DeSantis right after the Alabama debate down there, and I asked him, are you still all in Iowa? And he said, absolutely, we're going to win it. So how do you claim that you're going to win? How do you spend tens of millions of dollars and then get your butt kicked by 20 points and claim that you still should go on? Now, to your point about your viewers, if a bunch of DeSantis folks on Monday night say, hey, he only lost by 8 points, I would say that that's a pretty good loss. 8 points right now gives you the ability to fight another day. Now, the problem for DeSantis, just to fast forward this, he's put all of his chips in Iowa. So how do you go on to New Hampshire, where Nikki Haley is definitely on the ascent there? So DeSantis has a problem, because right now, even if he does okay in Iowa, I don't know his path forward.
Okay. Why is New Hampshire so different than Iowa, Sean? At least according to public polling, however you want to look at it. Why is it so different polling wise? Who would like Nikki Haley? Why do they like her there? She sucks.
God, you're on a roll. Great second question. The reason is twofold. Number one, New Hampshire allows independents to vote in its primaries, right? That's always been the case. And you've always had about a third of the electorate in New Hampshire that ultimately votes in their primary be independents. So number one, they are targeting and expect more independents this year than in the past. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, and this is historic, there's no Democratic primary to speak of. Joe Biden is not competing in New Hampshire. He's taken his name off the ballot. The DNC has told them that none of their delegates will count. So if you are a Democrat in New Hampshire, you have an incentive. And I'm talking, think about this, 2,000, 3,000 people. We're not talking about 100,000 people. If 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 Democrats cross over and vote in the Republican primary to vote for Nikki Haley, that will make a big difference. And so for those two reasons, New Hampshire is unique. It's not a closed primary. You're not just getting Republicans that are talking about deciding who the winner is, who will get their delegates. That's why New Hampshire is unique. And I think, as I said, historically unique this year, because you don't have a contest on the other side to speak of. And if I were a New Hampshire Democrat, why not just go vote and screw with the Republicans?
Okay, final question on this, Sean. We all talk about Iowa and New Hampshire, understandably, because they're first. Super Tuesday is something political nerds like you and me will understand, but a lot of people, they kind of, look, it does get confusing. You know about your own state's primary, you don't know what happens after New Hampshire?
So again, here's there's what traditionally happens after New Hampshire and what will happen this year. So you go New Hampshire, Nevada. It's actually you want to talk about a political nerd issue. They've got both a primary and a caucus this year, where there's a primary that doesn't award delegates and then a caucus that does award delegates. So we'll skip that for a second. Then you go on to South Carolina, and then to your point, Super Tuesday, where you've got multiple states in the same day. Why traditionally that matters is because you go from a bunch of smaller states, New Hampshire, actually Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, where you can run a very, focused campaign. You can do the 99 counties in Iowa. You can go to one end of New Hampshire to another. But once you get to Super Tuesday, you've got to now prove that you can run a national campaign. You've got to go from one end of America to the other end. And so traditionally, that's when you find out whether you're on the JV or the varsity. You literally have to go, can we actually run a national campaign? This Super Tuesday will exponentially benefit Donald Trump. And if he can win. Now, why I say this is historic is because the scenario that I laid out is this. DeSantis doesn't get close in Iowa. He's done. You cannot go forward. It just won't happen. He will fall out the next day, if not 2 days later. Nikki Haley will fall out in New Hampshire if she doesn't finish a close second. If she does not finish a close second or win New Hampshire, she has a hard time claiming that she should go on after everything that she's been there. She's got the backing of Americans for Prosperity, the Koch-backed organization. She's got the governor, John Sununu, backing her. So if she doesn't do well there, I don't see how she goes on. She'll have a hard time making it 2 weeks later to South Carolina. And even if she got to South Carolina, and here's to your put a point into your Super Tuesday note, if you're the former two-term governor of South Carolina and you don't win your home state, which by all polling right now shows she's not close, how do you make the case that the people who know me best don't want me, but you should?
Yeah, that's basically impossible. You want more of this stuff? Go download, go subscribe to Sean's podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. Obviously, get as smart a stuff as you can find anywhere. Sean, you are the man. I appreciate you, brother.